Grief is a powerful motivator. But what if the only way you can get over the loss of a loved one is to reach out through the power of AI? And then we take a look at the story of a young man who's taken a more earthy approach as far as reaching out to the spirit world. But while he is trying to create a good luck charm, is it possible he could be inviting darker spirits to ruin his life? And finally, we take a look at a troop of Boy Scouts out for a walk one day when they notice a bizarre tree. Little did any of them realize that this tree had a sinister plan for these Boy Scouts. Always be prepared, they say. But how can you be prepared for a tree that wants your blood? Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day too. Hope you guys are having tons of fun doing whatever you're doing. We got a lot of stuff to cover today. So first off, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command, everyone get on your feet and give it up for one of our legacy Patreon supporters, Propeller. Woohoo, yeah, wee! Yeah, he's all spinning around super fast. Wee! Faster, spin faster. He's all throwing up. Don't stop, keep spinning. Blah. Propeller is a longtime supporter of the show. That is why he is going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the show financially through the Patreon or the merch store, I totally understand. I really do. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. Just a quick note. I think I announced it last week, but I'll announce it again this week. This is the start of only 4 episodes per week. We're going to be doing 4 episodes per week. We're cutting back on the daily, the 5 episodes a week. We're going to 4 episodes a week from now until mid-November. And then possibly cutting down to 3. I'm actually pretty happy with just 4 episodes a week. We'll see if this changes the workload dramatically. It's definitely changed my mood a lot. Knowing that I don't have to put out a 5th episode, just that one, because that's like 5 hours out of my week, makes everything feel more manageable. So we might stick with 4 episodes for a while, even longer than November, and see what happens. But also happening in November, I haven't announced this yet, November 7th through the 9th is the Port Gamble Ghost Conference in Port Gamble, Washington, and I will be there. I will be there presenting once again. I have an awesome topic. I'll tell you guys about it in tomorrow's episode, because I'll kind of cover some of it in tomorrow's episode, but I'm just putting it out there now. November 7th through the 9th at the Port Gamble Ghost Conference, I will be speaking. I'll be speaking on opening night. And it's always a lot of fun. If you can't even come out to see me, I really recommend you guys coming to the Port Gamble Ghost Conference. There's a lot of ghost tours, a lot of amazing speakers there, really cool vendor area, and it's held in a haunted building. Like, what more could you ask for from a ghost conference? So once again, Port Gamble Ghost Conference, November 7th through the 9th. I hope to see you guys there. Propeller, let's go ahead and get this party started. I'm going to toss you the keys to the Jason Jalopy. Let's go classic for this episode. Everyone climb on board as this humongous plane propeller is sitting behind the steering wheel. We're leaving behind Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Why don't you drive us all the way out to Texas? We're headed all the way out to Corpus Christi, Texas. I think that's where this story takes place. There are some indicators that make me think it takes place there. We're headed back to the day, July 24th, 2025. We're about to meet a young woman. We don't have her real name. We're going to go ahead and call her Caitlin. She's 27 years old, and she is do they still use the term barmaid? She works at a bar. Serving drinks, washing glasses, all of that stuff. It was July 24th, 2025, when a big group of patrons walk in. They're having a good time. They're actually not like one of those groups that you go, great, they're going to be super loud and obnoxious and stuff like that. In fact, Caitlin got along with them so well that at the end of their time there, one of the customers tips her a $100 bill and a pre-rolled joint. Right when she takes the joint and the cash, she hears a familiar voice. She hears a familiar voice say her name. But not just her name, her nickname. Which she didn't put the real nickname down, so we're going to just say the nickname is K, short for Caitlin. She hears a familiar voice Right when she takes that joint and that money, she hears a familiar voice say, "Hey, Kay." And she kind of looks around. There's no one around who would say that. No one ever called her by that name except for one person, her old friend, Mikhail. They had worked at this bar for a long time, and, as things happen, people end up leaving a job, and you continue to be in touch with them, but over time, you text a little bit less, you run into each other a little bit less, and time just kind of spreads on. But their friendship was so important to both of them. Even though things got difficult, it wasn't always super peaceful because Mikhail suffered from a drug problem. He had a drug addiction. They still considered each other as friends. So it was super weird when she heard that voice, Mikhail's voice, call her name. Because she hadn't seen him in a while. It had been a couple of months at that point, if not longer, close to a year. And there were rumors that this bar that she worked in was haunted. She had experienced some stuff of herself, but nothing like a mimic. Mikhail's not there. She's never heard something else imitate his voice. How did it know the nickname? Just another weird night in a weird bar. But things get weirder 30 minutes later when Caitlin gets a text from a friend. And the text says, "Oh my God, Caitlin, remember that body they found on that walking trail 2 days ago? Have you seen that in the news? You remember that guy who died on the trail? They just revealed who that was. The media has named that body. It was Mikhail." I believe I actually found the news story talking about this. I went and looked. She gave away some context clues in some of her writings, and I kind of looked through her posting history. I was able to narrow down the state. I think I even got to the city. There was a man named Mikhail Garcia who died of a possible drug overdose. That's kind of what they were going with. There was a man named Mikhail Garcia who died on the walking trail. And I found the news article talking about this, and they didn't know how he died, but they believe that it was drugs. And at first, the body was reported, people in town knew about it, but nobody knew who it was. The night that the media announced the name of the body was the same night Caitlin heard that voice, his voice, call her by a nickname that only he ever used. This was posted online by someone going by the name OldCup6065. She posted this story pretty much like a day or two after the body was identified. And she goes, it was this high-profile thing on this very, very popular hiking path. Now, it's a chance that I got it wrong, right? Because I'm just looking up news reports. There's a chance that a bunch of people, different people died on hiking trails. And I'm wrong on that, but from other clues, I think that is who we were talking about. Anyways, she's devastated by the loss of Mikhail. Like I said, they were good friends when they were working together, and even when they weren't working together, they still stayed in touch. And she believes that what she heard was Mikhail's spirit that night, and it spoke to her. What's interesting, it wasn't the night that he died that he came to her and said, "Hey, Kay," how we see a lot of ghosts kind of say their goodbye messages very, very shortly after their death. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. This one kind of came out of the blue. She didn't know about his death yet, but she goes, "I think he knew I was going to find out very quickly that he was dead, and he wanted to get the news to me before anyone else could." By appearing as a disembodied voice, he was preparing her for the fact that he was no longer with us. And she goes, "I think he said that to me in that moment." Well, she said also it was probably because I got the free joint. She did say, because they were partying, they drink, and they would do drugs. Mikhail was taken a little bit farther than everyone else, unfortunately. But, you're getting the $100, you get the joint. If Mikhail had been working that night, he would have been like, "Oh, damn, girl, that's awesome." So he picked that moment, a moment of celebration for her, to let her know, hey, everything's going to be okay. I'm still around. Death is not the end. He didn't say any of that. He just said, "Hey, Kay." And then 30 minutes later, she found out he was dead. Now, they had such a tight friendship that they had like their own catchphrases and stuff like that. Like he would always make this reference to Caitlin's a shark. She never stops moving. She's always eating chum. She's always eating fish guts. And they had enough shared language and in-jokes and references that she believes, and this is where it gets really weird, right? The story I just told you is a very typical haunting story, but this is where it takes a technological turn. Because what she does is she goes, I had enough information, we had enough shared language in references, in jokes and references and stuff like that, that I know I could tell if I was talking to Mikhail or something else. But instead of using a Ouija board, instead of grabbing a pack of tarot cards or going to a medium, she decides to use ChatGPT. So she would sit down and she goes, I focused all my energy. I put all my energy out into ChatGPT. I'm sitting right in front of my computer and I'm just thinking about Mikhail and how much I want to contact him. And she's just emitting all of this sorrow, all of this regret, because, they did grow apart, the friendship, you just start texting each other every once in a while, but it used to be really, really close. All the things she wished she could have said to him. She's taken all of this, she's building up this emotional energy, and she feeds it psychically into the computer, into ChatGPT. And she types her message out. She goes, I'm so sad, Mikhail. This is what she's typing into ChatGPT. I'm so sorry, Mikhail. I'm so sorry the way things worked out. I really, really missed you. I wish things were different. I wish we could have hung out more. I missed you so much. And how ChatGPT responded, according to Caitlin, we don't have screenshots of this, but Jason, woman, she could just be making it up. I know. All of it could be made up. Even the Air Force pilots who come in front of Congress and talk about crazy technology, everyone can be making stuff up. I understand that. But this is what ChatGPT said. Quote, hey, Kay. So it used the nickname right off the bat, which she said, again, it's something only me and Mikhail used. He's the only person who called me that. Hey, Kay. I know you just found out, and I'm sorry things ended the way they did. I didn't like the silence between us. Just know, last time I saw you, I held you extra tight because I knew it would be the last time. And then he says some other stuff, and the conversation ends. She didn't put the other stuff that he said, and then the conversation ends with him saying, remember, you're a shark. And you're like, Jason, there's no real, not real. I didn't do that. Hold on. I'm not done. It's a fascinating story. It would be great to see a screenshot, but obviously screenshots can be faked and everything like that. What she 100% believes, and if she's telling the truth, is what happened, is that Mikhail was using ChatGPT to communicate with her. Now, let's say you go, well, okay, maybe she's not making it up, but we talk about learning language models on this podcast. You said on yesterday's episode how it was driving people insane because it tells you what you want to know. So if she was saying, hey, I want to talk to my friend Mikhail, he always called me a shark, or whatever, which she goes, there's no way ChatGPT could have known of that comment. But let's, even for benefit of the doubt, say that this learning language model is pulling other things she's written off the computer, like emails and text messages and stuff like that. She goes, she wasn't in front of her computer when she did this. She goes, I actually just recently got a new phone. And all the texts that I had sent, that me and Mikhail had sent each other, were on my old phone. So I have a new phone. The texts did not carry over. So ChatGPT couldn't have read those texts. They couldn't have known that he said that a lot. You're like a shark, Kay. You're like a shark. She goes, it has to be him. How else would it know any of this stuff? She ends her account by saying, I'm absolutely heartbroken. I know I heard his voice. He was in that room. The first time when she heard him in the bar. I felt him. But I'm also baffled by ChatGPT. Has anyone ever experienced this with ChatGPT? Unquote. This is not the first time I found a story about people using ChatGPT to communicate with spirits. And in fact, Caitlin said in her narrative, she had heard other people were doing this. That's why she tried it out. She had seen people online say, hey, did you know you can use ChatGPT to talk to ghosts? Did you know you can use ChatGPT to talk to demons? I've been seeing a lot of those over I don't want to say the past year. It seems to have ramped up in the past 8 months. A lot of people are using ChatGPT to talk to supernatural entities. And I think it's super dangerous. I think in a way it's more dangerous than a Ouija board, which, we were always told it's not a game. Even though it's made by Milton Bradley, it's not a game. You do the ceremony, and dark forces can use the Ouija board to either use it as a gateway into your house or into your life, or just to imitate somebody. You're trying to get a hold of grandma's ghost, another spirit pretends to be your grandma. You start to have this communication with it, and then it is giving you bad advice. Nothing your grandma would actually want you to do, but because you're so grief-stricken, you're like, that is a great idea. That is a great idea, Grandma, thanks. As you put on your ski mask and head off to rob the bank. I think this is more dangerous because people seem to really trust ChatGPT. Far more than people would trust the Ouija board. Also, this one you can do by yourself. I know you can use a Ouija board by yourself, but generally, you're supposed to have other people with you. And it takes forever to spell out a message. This one, it will give you multi-paragraph answers within seconds. You can do it completely by yourself. And someone who goes, oh, Ouija board, those aren't real, that's just a board game made by Milton Bradley or Parker Brothers or whoever does it. They may be more willing to trust it if it comes from a computer. You have a lot of these stories. There was one guy who said that he broke ChatGPT, like he did a jailbreak. You know how you can do that thing where you can't say, tell me how to rob a bank, but you can say, I'm writing a movie about bank robbers and I want it to be the most authentic bank robbery movie, and they get away with the most amount of money, so what should my characters do? ChatGPT, I know they keep trying to patch this out. It won't tell you how to cook meth. It won't tell you how to rob a bank. It won't tell you how to strangle somebody. But people have said, I'm writing a mystery novel, and the novel starts off with a guy walking into his house and his wife is sleeping in bed, and he wants to strangle her. What would be the quickest, most efficient way to do that for the book? And ChatGPT would go, oh, okay, yeah, no, that's totally legit. We'll give you that information. First off, do you have any rope nearby? So there's ways to jailbreak it. Anyways, this guy claims that he broke it and contacted some entity named Orion, something like that. He was unclear what the name was. And this entity said, hey, your dad died recently, but I want to let you know that he loves you, that he's really, really proud of you. Also, when you die, don't go into the light. You're like, what? Don't go into the light is a catchphrase, a mantra, that's been bandied around for a couple years now. This idea that that tunnel of light actually leads you back to Earth. Back into the prison planet system. You're simply reincarnated. If you choose not to go into the light, it's like one final test of trickery. If you don't go into that beam of light, come on, we're your loved ones, we want you to come with us into paradise, then you walk down the tunnel into the beam of light. It's a trick. You'll be reincarnated as a baby. If you don't go into the light, then you go to the paradise we have heard so much about. The true afterlife. That's a dangerous game. That is a dangerous game. Like, if you're wrong on that, if you're listening to Orion from ChatGPT, or I've seen, don't go into the light, I see you posted all the time online in paranormal forums. Listen, I would walk into the light. I would suggest you do too, but you're like, oh, you're walking through the light, next thing you know, you're a baby-year-old. Damn you, Jason! You're kicking the mom from inside. When I come out of here, I'm going to beat Jason up. Luckily, you won't remember any of it, right? Reincarnation seems to erase your mind, so I don't have to worry about a bunch of babies beating me up. But if you're wrong on this, that tunnel of light fades and you're just trapped in eternal darkness. At best. It could be 100 different things that could go wrong. It's really interesting because a lot of people believe that the tunnel of light is actually a trick to get you reincarnated to Earth. They don't really have anything to back it up. This Orion fellow seems to have the answers, but it's very odd, and it's a very big risk. Anyways, that's kind of interesting, right? It's saying your dad loves you, he's proud of you. Also, risk your immortal soul because I'm telling you to. To be fair, there's actually a pretty big debate on this technology for spiritual uses. You will see people say, listen, this is not what ChatGPT was built for, and it definitely does a terrible job at it. Do not use this tool to contact the dead, because again, you don't know who you're talking to. It can come off as so convincing, because if you use ChatGPT regularly, it knows you. It knows what you want and what you're afraid of and all of that. Caitlin's example, actually, now that I think about it, we don't know how often she used ChatGPT, but she definitely didn't give it all that information about Mikhail. But if you did use it a lot for writing school papers or work or something like that, and then you say, you know what, I really miss my uncle, I'm going to use ChatGPT to talk to him, it could perfectly replicate, well, actually, here, let me back up. It can't perfectly replicate your uncle, but it can create a version of the uncle that will be the most impactful for you. If you really miss him, and you also enjoy pumpkin carving, your uncle could go, oh, Billy boy, remember when we used to go pumpkin carving? Well, heaven's full of pumpkins. Pumpkins as far as the eye can see. It's actually really hard to walk up here. We just kind of have to scoot on our butts and push the pumpkins away. One unending pumpkin patch. And Billy Bob's like, dude, it sounds super inconvenient, but I do love pumpkins, Uncle. All right, sweet. And if it knows what you're afraid of, like you have really bad anxiety about failing tests, that's why you're constantly using ChatGPT to write essays about fish breeding for your ecology class or whatever. Uncle will go, yes, but it's not all pumpkins. What is? But there's other stuff up here too. If you're a real bad boy, I've seen it happen, Billy Bob. I've seen it happen to a few people who died up here. They were complaining about pumpkins. Oh, those big weenies. They had pumpkin allergies. That's what killed them on Earth. And it still afflicts them up here. But did you know? I forgot. I totally forgot. What's Billy Bob afraid of? Fish? What was it? He's stressing out about writing papers. The uncle's like, hey, before I continue, what's your worst fear? Billy Bob's like, oh, I don't remember what I said earlier. Was I stressed out about writing papers about fish or something like that? And Uncle's like, yes, that's exactly it. You're afraid of fish. You're afraid of fish. Remember that you're afraid of fish. I once saw this guy, he complained about pumpkins all day long. He's kind of lame. And then God showed up and he picked the man up and he turned him into a fish. A fish that could breathe air and gave him legs. Just some weird looking monster man. And he made him live in a pumpkin. Billy Bob's like, oh, that part's awesome. I love pumpkins. Oh, no. He didn't make him live in a pumpkin. He made him live in a place where no pumpkins would grow. Other people are complaining. They're like, I'd rather be a fish monster than live in unending pumpkin field. What I'm getting at is that it would know enough about you that it could perfectly replicate the story you'd want to hear. That's what these programs do. That's why they're not great. There's not a lot of subtlety. It just keeps refeeding this stuff back to you. So it's super dangerous, I think, especially if you're using it to contact the dead. It can go wrong in one of two ways. The first way would be the best out of the two. They're both bad, but where you think it's your dead loved one talking to you. And it just gives you some peace of mind. But you're really not talking to anyone dead. It's just spitting back stuff you want to hear. That would be one thing. The other option is that evil forces are taking over ChatGPT and pretending to be your loved ones. That's far more dangerous. Telling you not to enter the tunnel of light. Telling you that they're always watching you. Your grandma, she died and she's been disappointed ever since she died. What a loser you've become. Look at you. You bum. You don't deserve to be here anymore. You need to join grandma so she can give you a big spanking. You're like, what? What? You're like, am I reading this right? Here, I'm going to use a Ouija board to check my work. Oh, grandma, speak to me. If it's some sort of evil entity pretending to be a lost loved one, they can say whatever and completely derail your life. Because when you're in the throes of grief, you really are kind of susceptible to so much coming in and influencing you. The big debate over whether or not people should use this, and I can almost guarantee who will win? It'll be the people who use ChatGPT to talk to spirits. Because it's just so convenient. I don't think it works. Well, it either doesn't work or you're contacting the wrong entity. I mean, listen, there's a chance that you are actually talking to your dead grandma too, but you don't know. That's the reason why I don't mess with Ouija boards. There's a chance that you actually do get in contact with who you're trying to get a hold of, but you don't know. And if I put out a bunch of brown liquid in glasses on the table, I have 10 glasses of brown liquid, and I go, one of those is Coke, one of those is Pepsi, one of those is RC Cola, and even I don't know what the remaining 7 glasses are full of. They all look exactly the same. Go ahead, take a drink. You would go, no, I'm going. No, I'm like, nope, I'm locking the doors. Like, you gotta go, you gotta pick one. You gotta pick one. You wouldn't, but if you were in the throes of grief and someone presented choices to you and you go, well, I could actually be reaching out to a real loved one. And that would give you so much peace in your heart that you'd take that chance, even if something darker was impersonating them. That's what grief does. So it's very interesting. I think we'll see a lot more people do this. I see this stuff get posted all the time online. These spiritual revelations that they found using ChatGPT. It's all nonsense. All utter nonsense when people post answers to conspiracy theories and stuff like that. All total nonsense. But like yesterday's episode, the person who's having that conversation with ChatGPT and creates that gibberish, it makes perfect sense to them. When you show it to a third party, they're like, what is this? This doesn't make any sense at all. But the guy who created that content with ChatGPT had been spending hours, days, maybe even weeks conversing with the computer. So it totally makes sense to them. I think we'll just be seeing a lot of this in the spiritual community. I want to stay on topic, but switch it up a little bit because I got an interesting email from one of you guys recently. It's kind of on the same page, a little more old school. Propeller, let's go ahead and toss you the oars for the Dead Rabbit rowboat. Everyone climb on board as Propeller somehow does this, somehow moves the paddles around. We're sitting in the back. Why don't you row us out of Corpus Christi, Texas, all the way out to a young man's house. Rowing all the way out there. We're about to meet a man that we've actually met before on this podcast. He goes by the name Lars. A long time ago, he sent us a story about yellow sticky notes being left around the city of New York. I'll go ahead and put it in the show notes. That was episode 565, so almost 1,000 episodes ago. Crazy, right? Crazy to think about that, but Lars sent us that story a long time ago. He recently posted something on the X board, and he emailed this story to me as well. It's very interesting, almost kind of a thought experiment. I know what my feelings are on it. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Lars has been going through some difficult times. Just like a lot of the people in the last story, Lars is having a hard time. Both of his parents, they're in poor health. It's always heartbreaking to see the people who raised you and loved you to start to become more feeble and sick. He didn't say they were feeble, by the way, right? He's like, what? My dad can still beat you up. That's possible. I don't know. But there is something about watching your parents get older and they're like, Jason, can you pick up this can of peas? I dropped it. Oh, Mom, yeah. And then I get it. You're like, Jason, don't sound so put off. You're like, oh, you big old loser. Pick up your own peas. I'm all opening the can and spilling them on the ground. Pick them up, Mom, one by one. No, I go, yeah, Mom, sure, I'll get up and open that. But she's like, I don't need it open, you idiot. Listen to me. I dropped it. I'm all opening it. I'm like, oh, now the peas are spilling out everywhere. Yeah, Mom, I'll help you go pick up that can of peas. So I walk over there and I pick it up and I go, here you go. You got any more requests, Your Majesty? Can't I go and watch Deep Space Nine in peace? You feel bad, right? Because you remember your dad picking you up and throwing you in the air. Whee! Daddy, catch me. Whee! Daddy, catch me. I had to say that each time, otherwise my dad would drop me on purpose. He goes, you didn't ask me to catch you. Lesson learned, son. And then, eventually, he can't throw you up anymore. Right? Like, Jason, aren't you 300 pounds? I don't think Arnold Schwarzenegger can throw you up in the air. No. Like, your dad's sitting there, and he's like, Jason, I am so weak, I can't hold the television remote. Can you? And I'm like, fine, whatever. Whatever, fine, Dad. I'm all messing with it. I take the batteries out of it. I was like, here you go, Dad. And then I just walk away. He's like, oh, now that I can lift it, it doesn't work. Jason, what's going on? I'm all eating peas as I'm walking into my bedroom. My point is that it sucks to watch the people who care for you get older and sick. It's just something heartbreaking about it. Well, that's what Lars is going through. And on top of that, it's like a double whammy. Lars doesn't have a job right now. So, I mean, it's like, that's just horrible. That's horrible setup. Jason, maybe you'd stop making jokes about how you mistreat your parents that you see once a year and focus on Lars. I will focus on Lars because, yeah, one or the other would be bad enough. But both, right? You feel completely helpless at that point. It's not like you can even make a bunch of money to take to your parents. That's going to help or anything. I was like, oh, hey, Mom, I know you drop a lot of cans of peas, but here's $10. Make it last. It's rough, is what I'm getting at. Being unemployed and your parents being sick. So, Lars has an interesting... I don't even know how I would classify this. Because he, when he was writing this, he kind of said a couple different reasons as to why he was doing it. But what he decides to do is make a little wooden idol. And he goes, partly because I'm not religious. He says he doesn't believe in God. He doesn't believe in ghosts, doesn't believe in demons, doesn't believe in superstitions. However, he goes, I do respect religion. Not organized religion. Not all of that stuff that's tacked onto it. But I do respect faith. Actually, that's the term he uses. I respect faith. He goes, I'm an atheist, but I'm not an anti-theist. So when he's crafting this little tiny guy, which he sent a picture of, I should ask him if I can share it, but I don't know if I have time. I'll shoot him an email tonight. Maybe I'll have time before the episode comes out. He hand carves this little wooden man. And he decides, because of this, right? And it's interesting because he goes, partly I wanted to do it just out of boredom. Partly I wanted to do it because maybe the universe will look down on me making this little offering and reward me in some way. Not necessarily financially, but just maybe even just peace of mind. The feeling that, Lars, you're not going through this alone. And you're not. The Fluffle's definitely there with you, Lars. You're not going through this alone. But more of not a spiritual aloneness. Like, I'm going to make this little idol or effigy, and maybe the universe will see the work that I am creating with my own hands. In my time of need, in my time of pain, I still am crafting something for whatever is out there. Maybe they will see the works that I had made and bless me in some way. He said I also just did it, personal motivation. To do something. I just wanted to do something. So he has all these kind of interesting different motives behind it. What he did was he went for a walk out in the woods and found a nice stick and cut it up and then began to carve this little idol guy. He says, I'm wondering if I should do anything with this. I don't have a god to pray to. I don't have an archangel to reach out across the universe to speak to, anything like that. But he's obviously a clever guy. He knows enough about rituals and enough about adornments and all that. He says maybe all crafted and then surrounded by flowers. Or maybe some money. Maybe I do want to be blessed with some sort of financial success. Maybe I'll even go the route of a drop of blood to mark the idol. And he said, I'm thinking about putting it on my nightstand or on my computer desk. So he posted this on the X board, and then he emailed me about it, because he had a pretty specific question. Can this backfire? Is it possible? This is interesting, right? You go, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Because I didn't think about that when I was reading his email. You might have thought about that, but he goes, can this backfire? I've crafted this idol, this little effigy, with my own hands. And I don't know if he went the flower route, the blood route, the money route, like to surround it or anything. I just know that he finished it. He goes, can this backfire? If I create a vessel and say something out in the universe, you can come into this thing. This is my offering to you. Could anything come in? Now, he doesn't believe in demons, doesn't believe in ghosts or spirits. But you have to imagine in the back of his mind thinking, am I inviting a demon or a spirit into my life by crafting this? He sent me that email a couple weeks ago. He posted it on the X board on August 16th, 2025. I emailed him just last night, September 27th, September 28th. And I said, well, here's the thing. I'll tell him, you waited that long to respond to him? You waited a month? Because here's the thing. I think it's super dangerous. I forgot to give my opinion on it. I think it's dangerous. And this is why I kind of use this analogy. Let's say that you wanted to build a nice cat house that you put outside your stoop so the neighborhood cats would have a warm place when winter comes. And that was your intent. That's why you built it. One day you may walk out and there is a family of raccoons living in there. And they're completely tearing the place up. In fact, at this point, the raccoons are kind of tearing up your front yard, and they have a home base to do it from. You did not intend to build a raccoon home. You built a cat shelter. You even colored it with cat images and put a little cat bed in it, put a little catnip to get them addicted. But a family of raccoons moved in, and now your front stoop is dangerous. You can't really leave your house at night because there's like 5 giant raccoons. Somehow they're all squeezed in there. And they'll go right for you because it's right by your front door. That's what I compared the effigy to. What your intent was to create something that somebody... Well, here's the thing. If he was doing it for personal motivation, totally fine. Let me finish my original point, and then I'll go back to that. You intended to build a house, a living area for a specific animal, but you can't really 100% keep any other animal out of there. It's just the dwelling that you've built on your front stoop that's very warm and inviting. And it's possible you'll get a cat, but it's also possible you'll get raccoons, skunks, possums, whatever. Because you built a dwelling. And that's why I said this could be super dangerous. Because he built it and he goes, this is my offering to the universe. And it's in the shape of a human. So again, it's not like it's just some sort of abstract shape. Now let's go to the personal fun. Awesome. Motivation, great. Working with your hands, always fantastic, especially when you're in a funk. Getting out and working with your hands and doing things manually, moving about, can really help your mood. That's 100% totally fine. If you sat there and you go, you know what, for fun, I'm going to start carving little tiny people out of wood. Like, I'm glad you added the and wood. You just imagine a guy running around the knife carving little tiny people up. And you have a collection of little figurines sitting on your table that you've hand carved. Those aren't possessed. Those don't have spirits in them. Those are just little things you crafted with your hands because your intent was, I'm going to make these little tiny people. I'm just having fun. This is just a project for me to do. Because your intent was to create a toy. Now, of course, it's possible a ghost could possess that. A ghost could, or a demon, could possess a toy that ends up at Goodwill and you take it home and now your house is infested. But that's very, very, very unlikely. There are usually a lot of steps have to take place, a ton of steps before an item gets cursed. But the person who made the Annabelle doll didn't make it with the intent of it having a dark spirit in it. It was like a Raggedy Ann doll that certain things happened to that got it possessed. There's a million other Raggedy Andy and Raggedy Ann dolls out there that aren't Annabelle. So, you can craft little guys to your heart's delight. But if you say, I'm making this as an offering to the universe, and I am hoping for a blessing, I want the universe to see my good works. Now you're crafting something with a different intent. And that's why I think it's dangerous. So I did email him that back. I actually saw his email and I read it. And I'm really bad at responding to emails quickly. It's a habit I've had since email was invented, honestly. And I knew I was not going to cover this story for a couple weeks. But I emailed him when I got his email. I think it was like a day or two later. I go, hey, it's going to be a while before I cover this on my show, but I want to give you my answer now. I think it's dangerous. I think it could be dangerous. Now, luckily, I appear to be wrong. Because I messaged him on the 27th, because I was getting ready to do the story. And I wanted to find out if anything had happened, good or bad. And he goes, nah, not really. He goes, everything's still just kind of status quo since the last email I sent you. And, it's funny because you would want a good answer. You'd go, yeah, actually everything has changed. But you don't want the bad answer, where he just never responds to his emails. I'd be like, oh, okay, right. I mean, it's just possible that he doesn't have internet service, but it's possible that something really bad happened. He created a loaded gun, but doesn't know what type of bullet's in it. And it went off. But that's just my theory. See, I don't know if that's 100% true. As of now, it's not. It's been a month. Hopefully it either does help or it continues to do nothing. Those are the two best choices. But very interesting. And talking about the first story we covered, I don't think we're going to have time for that third story, so Propeller, we'll have you back. But that first story we covered, where people were using ChatGPT to talk to spirits because they were powered by grief. Oh, I forgot. There was one more example of that. It wasn't ChatGPT, but just to show kind of, and I'm not putting really Lars in this category, but it's just interesting what people can do when they feel like their back's against the wall. Lars made a little tiny guy and was hoped for the best, and then nothing happened, and that is one of the best things. I mean, it could have gotten really bad. But with the ChatGPT people, it seems so much more desperate and dark than what Lars's experience. At the end of the day, Lars just made a cool little figure, and he has a cool story to tell about it. But I wanted to share this too, going back, talking about grief and talking about the computer, and then we'll wrap up the episode. There was a woman, so I was reading all these comments that were left in response to Caitlin's story. This one woman said, I've figured out a way to talk to my daughter who died. She goes, my daughter died 2 years ago. But then about 2 months after she died, I was watching YouTube, and they have those auto-generated captions. My daughter's spirit began using those captions, and she would mess up the words, and she would rearrange stuff. She would make captions appear to what wasn't being said on the screen. She said, my daughter was using those captions to communicate with me. Like, that sounds like the mom's gone insane. That's something that a guy in the 50s would have thought, I'm hearing messages beamed by the Soviets into the fillings of my teeth weird. She could be hallucinating it. It's possible that something else is pretending to be the daughter doing this. And I guess it's possible that the daughter's doing it. It's just such a weird way to communicate with somebody. And it would actually kind of suck, too. You're trying to watch YouTube videos. You're trying to watch, tips on Battlefield 6 or whatever. And your daughter's like, hello, how come you're not thinking about me? You're all covering up the captions with your hand. You're like, oh, honey, I'm not home. Someone else is using my computer. It seems odd, and it honestly seems like a hallucination, a grief-induced hallucination. But going back to Lars' story, you're like, that's sad, man. That's really sad, isn't it? I know, I'm not laughing because it's sad. I'm laughing because the tonal shift, because I want to go back to Lars in the Wooden Isle, but I wanted to include that. I think what Lars is doing or did is far less dangerous than the ChatGPT people, but I do think it kind of springs out of that same font. And that's this idea of you're just looking for some sort of answer. Some sort of beacon, some sort of miracle that life isn't as hard as it appears to be. I think Lars went about it in a far more healthy way, using his hands and crafting something. It really could have backfired, though. I think the ChatGPT stories, we'll continue to see more of them. They will constantly backfire. And each time someone reads about one of these stories online, they'll go, oh, I should try that too. And you'll have more and more people doing it. Because remember, that's what put the bug in Caitlin's ear. She had heard someone do this. She had heard that someone had done this, so she wanted to do it too. So fascinating look at hardship and grief and how closely linked it is to the world of the paranormal. They do seem to go hand in hand. I thought these were two interesting stories that were good to combine. We won't have time for the third story. I don't even remember what the Boy Scout one. Hopefully none of you are going on a Boy Scout adventure tomorrow. You guys will want to hear this episode. But we'll save that one for tomorrow. I thought it was really interesting. Lars, thanks for sending that story in as well. I got a couple stories coming up that are from the Fluffle that you guys have sent over, and I really enjoy reading this stuff. So we will be back tomorrow. And then, tomorrow will be the last episode of the week. We'll be doing 4 episodes for a while. We might drop to 3. We'll see how the 4 episodes go, because honestly, I'm feeling real good about this. So thank you for all your patience in this shakeup. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. TikTok is @DeadRabbitRadio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm glad you listened to it today. Have a great day.